Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines. It is official. Saudi Arabia has joined BRICS. We got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content. Right now, $1.72 trillion market cap for crypto. The market is off by 0.2%. 42,700 plus for Bitcoin, 2,300 plus for Ethereum, 96.5 billion plus market cap for Tether. And we see 50 cent XRP. We are off by 0.2 on the 24 hour. We're off by 1.4 on the 7 day. Let's look at the range of price very quickly here. Between 49 cent flat on the bottom and 51.37. We're sitting right smack dab in the middle. Miles Franklin, precious metals, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about avoiding World War III. We're talking about the unwinding of the petrodollar agreement that elevates the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency today. Might want to consider having some physical gold. And if you do, make sure you put DIG gold, D-I-G gold, in the subject box to ensure the best prices. World Gold Council says total gold demand hit a record last year and is expected to expand again in 2024. The trend continues. We need to understand that the overall consumption we're talking about here has been with central bank buying. It climbed 3% to 4,899 tons last year. How about that? Central banks are buying Bitcoin, they're buying gold. So Bitcoin is a shiny distraction for retail investors while central banks continue to hoard the precious metal. Make sure you put DIG gold in the subject box. BRICS member China is encouraging Africa to use local currencies like Chinese yuan and ditch the U.S. dollar. Africa stands to gain in this situation as the Chinese yuan is cheaper for debt repayment than the U.S. dollar currently. Don't forget about Project Sandman we covered here multiple times. Over 100 nations intend to, at some point in the future, to simultaneously drop the use of the U.S. dollar. Simultaneously. That is the plan of Project Sandman. Think of the implications and the hyperinflation that could ensue. Because it is official now. It's no longer we intend to. It's no longer we have an MOU of $15 billion with BRICS. Of course, they still have that. That's why they've joined, because it went well. And remember, at the 1st of January of this month, they were supposed to join, and Saudi Arabia said, we're going to think about it. Well, they thought about it, and now they've joined, along with Egypt and UAE. 85% of the, and we know Iran's in it too, so 85% of the world's oil production now exists inside of BRICS. And quickly accumulating a stronger GDP than the G7. I hope you don't find this to be a futuristic joke. Let the games begin, ladies and gentlemen. Saudi Arabia officially joins BRICS Alliance. I ask you this honest question, and it is a question I do not have the answer to. Do you believe that Saudi Arabia is just allowed to willy-nilly walk away from the petrodollar agreement, which, by the way, is simply this? The agreement for Saudi Arabia and other OPEC nations to trade exclusively in U.S. dollars for oil in return for military protection. So this is no longer, we think they're going to join. It looks like they're going to join. They've joined. So what does it mean to the petrodollar agreement? Well, I'll tell you what it means at my house. It means they don't give a shit about it anymore. And they're telling the U.S. to go fly a kite. Now, the other side of this, what are we to think about this coalition? And what do we think the U.S. is going to do about it? Take a listen to this quick clip here that breaks it all down.
I want you to really understand what I just told you, the ramifications of this. What I told you is there's an Axis and allied power. Argentina, Brazil, Mexico, Ukraine, Russia, the stands, of course, Saudi Arabia, I don't know about Yemen, Iran, India, China. Those are all part of an ally. Now, everybody's talking about gold. Oil. What would that mean for oil? But I just told you it also affects the U.S. dollar.
Exactly.
This will take the U.S. dollar out of the world reserve currency, which people told me 10 years ago could never happen. It's going to happen soon. But more importantly, goods and services. Think about what happens if we take this part of the world out of production. Let's say there's a Cold War. When we had a Cold War with Russia, we didn't really need any stacking dolls, so we were pretty good. But now, if this is the Cold War and we don't trade with these guys, do you know how much your clothing is going to cost? How much a car will cost? Where are you going to get your chips for anything? Because Taiwan is the one that makes all of the sophisticated chips. This is going to change everything about your life, everything that you think you know about America.
And there you have it, and it's absolutely true. Shout out to Glenn Beck for that clip and Chad Steigrobber for sharing it. You know, this is where I have to remind us here. Ripple is partnered with Yes Bank. Yes Bank is partnered with UPI, which is their payment interface in India tied to the Reserve Bank of India and the digital rupee and the CBDC application. India is in the BRICS coalition. So we have these connections here that really have always, look, you guys know by now if you've been following me for any measure, I'm here because of this. I have firmly believed that there is an issue with the monetary system that needs to be addressed, and that's the reason I became an investor, a macro investor, long-term investor, inside of this growth industry. Investing in what I believe are the assets that have the ability to bring use case utility to an already financial system and to help complement it and make it better, more efficient, more secure, more scalable, more interoperable. I firmly believe that XRP Ledger could become the next underpinning to the US dollar with the right reserves and the right approach to the XRP Ledger, which is a decentralized exchange for the world, ladies and gentlemen. The right reserves put up from multiple different areas can underpin the US dollar moving forward, the digital dollar moving forward, in a way that we would never need a petrodollar agreement again with any other nations, and never to be beholden to a Saudi Arabia or other countries and what their end of the bargain may need to be. Think of it. Enough gold reserves, enough oil reserves, enough silver reserves, enough reserves put up to back the CBDCs for all the governments of the world, all expressed on the ledger as backing so everyone can know it and trustlessly trust inside of that commitment? Think of it. You could ensure a dominant reign of the US dollar for the next 150 to 300 years if you get it right, especially if you develop something like prudential regulation for stable coins like USDC and Circle, and ensure that it's held to a constitutional standard, and that the Federal Reserve and the Treasury have no right, or the government have no right, to look into your affairs or the cost or spending of your transactions unless you do something illegal. Then we see here, shout out to Subjective Views here, with all the Ripple XRP funds circulating, decided to put this post together to remind the community what's being built. What a timely piece this is. This goes right around in 2008, Reserve Bank of India touching into the UPI. We know the connections here. National Payment Corporation of India, known as NPCI, formed with RBI guidance, 65 stakeholders, and many of which are known Ripple partners. Bank of Thailand conference. We saw the CEO of NPCI explain the significance of structural of the NPCI and UPI, India's payment interface. This is, these are the things that we have to look at and ask ourselves, hey, are we watching something much larger than just the introduction of digital assets to the world? Of course we are. There's a reason for these things. It's because the world needs it, because there is a monetary crisis. There's not a real estate default swap crisis like in 2008. There's a monetary crisis. And the way to fix it is to bring in digital technology, introducing new monies to the world. And then you could use things like Bitcoin as a flight to quality, high ground during a massive financial transition. You could use things like stable coins and CBDCs to soak up the paper dollars and bonds around the world in case of hyperinflation, giving new use case to back these new digital instruments, and ensuring that the digital dollar on your phone and your digital wallet is worth $1, which probably the paper one in your pocket won't be. Which is why stable coins are going to play such a crucial role, which is why I also ask, with the onset of an 80+% consensus right now to bring automated market makers to the ledger, could it change the classification in the eyes of a regulator or banking industry? You do not want XRP to qualify as a Group 2 asset. The bank does not want to hold 1,250% weighted risk just so they could use XRP for payments. Now, you don't need to be a banker or an economist to understand that. Which is why I am very curious as to whether automated market makers and liquidity pools, we can take transactions away from the order books of centralized exchanges by providing stabilization mechanisms known as liquidity pools through these automated market makers. Could that change the way a regulator and financier see the asset XRP, putting in a Group 1, which would take it out of the 1250% risk-weighted average and look very attractive to banks? Here's what I do know. Wherever we're going, we're not going back to the way we were. So we better start entertaining something that's new, because Saudi Arabia joining BRICS is new, and they're not going back the other way. What will be the next underpinning of the United States dollar to continue its dominance through the world? Because if we don't figure out what that's going to be, we have the trials of Job ahead of all of us. Not even kidding. I hope you'll join us in the Freedom Zone, because today we are going to go after another angle that's happening while the monetary system is in flux. While the threat of the United States dollar as the world currency reserve is under threat, we're going to take another look at another angle that is threatening the control of people. And you're going to want to know what it is. And more importantly, we're also going to take a look at what the answer is as to how to protect yourself because of it. I hope you'll join us at digperspective.com. Join the Freedom Zone, where it's the safest place to avoid censorship and absolutely respect freedom of speech. No question about it. I will see you in the Freedom Zone. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you on the next one.